Well, hello friends, Coach Bob with you today. Well, let's close this up. Wow, what a beautiful day today, man. The perfect day for a ride. Man, it is just absolutely beautiful. 80 degrees and not a cloud in the sky. You know, you dream about days like these. But before we get going on the video today, if you would do me a favor, give the video a big old fat thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. Share it with your friends, all that jazz. This video could save their life. Yeah. That's always a good thing. Life-saving. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about 5 things that could save your life. Now, I'm not going to go into great detail as far as how to do some of these things, although over the next few weeks we will be breaking these concepts down and we will discuss them deeply. But what I want you to do, somewhere down here in the old comment section, I want you to leave a comment again, and then start yapping, because the more comments we get, the better off the video does, and the better it does, the more it'll reach, and the more it reaches, well, you know how all that works. All right. So what I want you to do is leave a comment about things like this, things where you go, you know what, Coach, I think this would be a life-saving technique or a tip that I could give someone else that would really benefit them in their riding. And so the whole idea in this is we're approaching riding season. A lot of people have gotten a little dusty. The old spider webs are on them. Yeah, a little pun there with the spider thing. Spider webs are on them. They got to brush them off and get their techniques and their skills all together. So we're going to talk about 5 things. We are probably even going to have a bonus. Yes, a bonus. Man, life is good. All right. So the very first thing we're going to talk about as far as things that can save your life, we are going to talk about braking. You know, the Spyder, and we are talking more Spyder specific as opposed to motorcycles, although these things would apply to motorcycles as well. But braking, you need to understand your braking performance, and you also need to scan the general area and understand the braking performance of those around you. You know, it's one thing if you can stop in time to keep from running into the back of the dump truck, but if there's a dump truck behind you, well, it's not going to keep him from flattening you because he can't stop as fast as you can. So you have to be very careful. Now, obviously, there are times where it's not going to matter. You've got to not hit what's in front of you. But if you know that there's a vehicle behind you, you can utilize your speed to create distance between you and the person in front of you, which in turn will normally give space between you and the guy behind you. Now, if you get some knucklehead that's tailgating you, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. But we've done videos on that. We'll do another one about that real soon, about what to do when you have people tailgating you. I'll give you a pointer. It's not flip them off and hack them off and brake check them. That's not the way you handle it. But understand, though, you have to understand your braking performance on the Spyder. How much time does it take for you to stop? Now, I'm doing 45 miles an hour. I've done a video on braking. I could be a lot closer to this car and be very comfortable and confident that I could stop in time. Now, if I'm not covering the brake with my foot, I have to move my foot. There's a half a second. And then I have to depress the brake. There's another half a second. So there's a 1 second delay before I even begin braking. Now, you may be faster than that, but I'm not young and spry like I once was. So my reaction time, it may not be as good as yours. Certainly if you're younger and in better shape and your neurological system is firing like a well-oiled machine, mine's firing like a slightly rusty old machine. So understanding braking performance, that is number one. That's going to get you into a lot of trouble if you don't, and if you get too close and you can't stop, you're going to end up hurting yourself. And that there's a lot to be said for that. Okay, number two is something that is very important. That is intersections. To be aware at intersections. Do you realize that 70%, yes, 70% of motorcycle accidents occur in intersections? Now, we've all heard the nightmare story of the T-bone, right? Where, a guy was making a left turn, he had the right-of-way, and the car flattened him. The car ran the red light. All of that happens, and I'm not saying that it's the motorcycle rider's fault, but I don't care who's at fault, honestly, if I can fix it. So there's the emotional side of riding where you go, oh, I'm going to flip that guy off. I'm angry. He cut me off. He did this. All I care about is not getting flattened. All right, I'm going to approach a four-way stop here. And this four-way stop is within 1.5 miles of my home. This four-way stop is very, very busy. You can see that multiple cars have gone by. Normally I cut this so you don't have to sit here with me. Now when I'm here, I'm obviously the third car, and this guy wanted to go. He wasn't sure what to do. I'm looking, and you notice I turned my head. You know, scanning with just your eyes is not a systematic way of scanning, and they have shown many studies, and especially with aging riders, that if we don't turn our heads and look and scan, that we will miss them. Do you know that here's an interesting fact? Your brain, when you go to certain intersections, like if I ride that intersection a lot, if I get in a hurry, my brain, as I just kind of glance back and forth real quick or just roll my eyes back and forth, my brain will literally fill in the gaps and the car will disappear. Have you ever done that where you pull out and you go, man, I never saw that guy. I looked straight at him. How did I miss? Your brain actually painted trees. Isn't that crazy? Your brain can do that stuff, so you have to scan. You have to systematically scan. You're not just looking left to right. You are scanning the environment. There is a difference. So scan the intersections. Approach the intersections at a speed to where if someone is running the red light, that you have at least a hope, a chance of not plowing into the side of them or being flattened by them. So you're scanning. Also, look behind you and ahead of you to see what's going on. Again, that awareness, that situational awareness. The primary issues also with motorcycles are when we're making right and left-hand turns. A right-hand turn where you spill out into the other lane, or you hit a curb or hit oil on the ground, certainly right after rain, and all of a sudden you're sliding and you are in trouble. You're in the opposing lane. So make sure, like, this is a weird intersection. It's actually just a left turn, but then that over there is a driveway. But it works like a four-way stop. It's a very, very odd little intersection. And people that I bring out and ride with over in this area, I always have them really stop all the way and look, because somebody be coming out of that driveway and you'll never see them. I mean, you will not see them at all. It can be real scary. All right, so intersections, big time, be careful at intersections. Look at your speed, look at your braking, look at the traffic around you. Are they paying attention? Is someone turning in front of you? Does someone appear to not be stopping? Is there someone coming up on you and they've not made eye contact with you and they're getting ready to turn in front of you? All of those things matter. Scan, scan, scan. Just like with the braking thing, you're scanning, you're looking, you're aware of all of the other drivers, and then when you approach that intersection, you are hyper vigilant. You are very, very acutely aware of your surroundings. All right, so there we have it. Brakes and intersections, two very important things. All right, number three is another one where there is a very, very high chance of you as a Spyder rider or a motorcycle rider that you will get seriously hurt and or killed, and either one of those is not a fun thing. Now this road here is relatively straight, but curves on motorcycles can be very deceiving, and many times as we ride, we approach that curve and we're not quite sure how steep it is. You know, I've been riding on roads that were strange to me. When I was riding up in South Dakota, there was it was like Iron Mountain Road. It was a beautiful stretch of road, some of the most beautiful roads I've ever ridden in my lifetime. And as I was riding them, I was absolutely in awe of how twisty and winding they were. But like a road like this, for example, this is a road that looks relatively straight. And you're riding, it's rural, it's narrow, there's no line in the middle, there's no edge markers on it. And then all of a sudden, it looks like it's just a mild curve. But because there's a buildup there, you can't see how much it curves, and then on the back side of it, it just continues curving around. Now cameras, as I'm running this camera, they are very, very good at straightening things out and leveling ground. But that curve right there will get you in a world of trouble, and going in the other direction, it's even worse. So let's spin on around and check it out. Now I could take you on some roads and show you curves that can get you in big trouble, but look at this. This doesn't look like much of a turn here, and so you think you're going to come around this little piece of a curve and then the curve's done, but it doesn't. It's not finished. All of a sudden, it makes a sharp curve on top of the narrow. It makes a sharp turn on top of a mild one. So understand that you need to be very, very aware of your speed. Understand your limitations, which is, you know, one of our later ones we're going to talk about. But you need to be aware of the fact that curves will get you killed. If you approach them too fast, you'll run off in the ditch and you are hurt. And that's a bad, bad thing. So number 4, and this one is Spyder specific. It can also be about an automobile or a truck or a large vehicle. And that is understand the physical size of the Spyder. You know, that road that I just got off of had no side marker lines and it had no center line on them. And if you're not paying attention on a narrow road, you will find that front left wheel in the opposite lane. And even on a narrow road that doesn't have a side line but has a center line, if you have traffic oncoming and it's dark, you will find this front right wheel as you try to avoid the car, maybe drifting off into the dirt. You have to be very careful with that. The size of the Spyder can be a little deceiving. So understanding the physical size of it so that you stay in your lane is very, very important. You know, you learn that by riding. You have to ride it, and you have to ride in a variety of conditions on a variety of road styles. But the Spyder can get you in a lot of trouble, especially if you're going around a curve like we were just talking about, and you are used to riding a two-wheeler. All of a sudden, that outrigger wheel is sticking out into the other lane, and as you overcorrect, you end up in the ditch. You end up doing something stupid. So know the physical size of the Spyder. Understand, you know, how much lane it takes up. When you look at that motorcycle right there, he's not taking up a lot of geography in that lane, and we're taking up a lot of the lane. Be very, very careful with that. It takes a little while to get used to that as a Spyder rider. That was one thing that I found myself doing and just really struggling with that at times. All right. Number 5, this again is Spyder specific. Understand and learn the steering skills required on a Spyder. Now, when I say that, anyone who's ever transitioned from a two-wheeler to a Spyder, they get on this thing and they're like, Coach, I am all over the road. What am I doing wrong? I get bump steer, I oversteer, I end up in the other lane. On the interstate, you would think that I'm a drunk driving down the road because I am just all over the place. There is no real trick to it. I've done some videos on it, and I'll do some more videos on steering the Spyder because it's a very, very common complaint about people when they transition from the two-wheel to the three-wheel world. But understand, oversteering on this, you can either end up in the ditch, hitting a mailbox. That's just things that are fixed, right? Much less a car, a bus, a child. You know, that sort of thing is very, very important. So understanding the steering on the Spyder is really, really important. Well, let's just keep rolling. You know what, when we're talking about the actual size of the Spyder, another thing we need to be aware of is how to avoid hitting things, because the Spyder, you cannot, like for example, if there was something in the road here, I can see way ahead of me. If there was something in the road here and I needed to bounce over into that opposing lane, then I need to understand where the Spyder is going to be and how it's going to react. And there are many times, as you become more experienced, you realize you don't have to get in the other lane to miss something. If you will simply line up that debris with your knee, then it will go between the outrigger front tire and the center, the back tire, and you will just pass right over the top of it. Now, if it's really big, you know, I was on the interstate one day and I hit something, and I mean, when I hit it, there was no avoiding it. I had an 18-wheeler behind me, I had one beside me, and there was just a piece that it just fell off in the road, and there it was. And brother, I ran over the top of it, and it was loud, and it was on my personal Spyder. And at the next exit, I pulled over, and I really did a very, very, very thorough inspection, because I was concerned that I had damaged something on the bottom of it, and I didn't, but I could have. I missed a golden opportunity. You know, I know people who own Spyders who have hit things and just torn the dadgum bottom right off of their Spyder. I mean, ripped the dadgum skid plate off and wiring and all kinds of stuff, and it created real problems for them. They were without their Spyder for months. Now, you see this guy here as I approach this intersection? He was in this lane. If I pulled all the way up to the stop bar, I would be legal. However, as he ripped the front end off the Spyder, being legal is not a lot. It's not very comforting to me. All right, so we have our 5 things. Is there a bonus? You know, certainly coming off of a season where you know we've been. It's winter time. It's cold. Now you're getting ready to ride. I'm going to say this, and it's not just at the beginning of the season, it's also late season. We need to be very, very vigilant about this. Don't get lazy. You know, we get out here in the spring, you know, and we go, man, I'm super excited, it's time to ride, and you're so excited about riding, you end up relaxed so much that you're just not paying attention to what's going on around you. And if your head's not in the game, then all of a sudden you find yourself in some real dangerous situations. So make sure that you don't get into this melees, this terrible, oh, you know, I'm so relaxed, I could just go to sleep, you know. Also, late season you get super comfortable because you're like, well, I've ridden all year, I've ridden with some really fast folks, I've ridden in some super crazy conditions, I am so good that I just cannot make a mistake, and then all of a sudden you do. So make sure you don't get lazy, make sure you stay aware, and that sort of thing. It's just very, very important. All right, well, you know, we had a bonus. Let's have one more bonus. You know, the old double-decker bonus, you know, it's like you're getting the Five Guys, and they all of a sudden they put an extra hamburger patty on it. Haha. So give the video a big old fat greasy thumbs up. Maybe put a little peanut butter and honey on it. I mean, I want that thumb fat. All right. And that is this. Never, I repeat, never ride beyond your limitations. You need to know, as Clint Eastwood said, a man's got to know his limitations. You need to know your limitations. If you don't, you're going to end up hurt. You know, I see this a lot with either young riders who are inexperienced or older riders with vast levels of experience, but they're a little embarrassed because they're not the rider that they once were. Here's what I mean by that. A young rider will say, man, I need to keep up with these guys. I know they're doing 80 on a winding road, and I'm not comfortable with it, but if they can do it, I can do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Stop, slow down, wait. It's okay. Let the world wait on you. If they ride on, you know what? You got Mr. Google and Uncle Apple to bring that map up and get you home. You don't have to ride with them, and don't worry about offending them. I mean, offend them if they're that sensitive. You don't need to be riding with them anyway. But understand that riding too fast, it'll get you killed, man. And as an older rider, here's where I see this one go on. Not so much in the skill department. I see most older riders, they're responsible and they go, you know what, it's a bad idea to do that kind of thing. Here's where we make our mistake. We're riding with a group, and the goal is to get from Tallahassee to Naples today. And about an hour and a half before Naples, they can barely keep their eyes open, and their body's tired, and their awareness levels are down, and they feel dehydrated, and they just keep pressing on. And then all of a sudden they get lightheaded and they have an accident. I've seen this many, many times, and I want you to know, if you're riding with me or anyone else, if they're putting in big miles and you are tired, stop. Just stop. You know what? It's okay. Ride your pace. And it's okay if you get separated. It's okay to get separated. You may be on some time constraints that they're not. They may be on time constraints that you're not. They have to be there in 4 days. You could take 7 if you need to, because you're retired and they're not. Maybe they have something pressing when they get back home, and they can do it. So let them go. Just let them go. If you're an older rider, exhausted, let them go. So know your limitations. All right, well, there you have it. 5 things that could very well save your life, and a couple of bonuses. Now, next week, we're going to be talking about intersections, the dangers of intersections, and a lot of very finite details that could save your life. So make sure you tune in there, because you know what? You just might learn something. And if you don't learn anything, well, that's okay. You can refresh what you already know so that you can even be mo better. All right. Well, there you have it, another one in the book. So I want you to do me a favor. You, yes you, go out, buy the motorcycle of your dreams, maybe even a beautiful Spyder like this. Eat right, take care of yourself, and remember, if you're not having fun, you are most definitely doing it wrong. Now you go seize the day, and I will see you on the road real soon. All right.